This is a complete misconception about Africa. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent. And Africa is the second largest continent and the second most populous continent in the world after Asia. So it is unwise to call Africa a country. Africa has 54 countries, and all these countries have their own languages, customs, and traditions. Africans do not speak African. Africans have their own languages spoken in Africa. Most times when the Africans move out of the continent, this is one of the embarrassing questions that the West keep asking the Africans, whether the Africans speak African. African is not a language in Africa. Africa has its own languages. Africa has over 2,000 languages spoken by the Africans. So it is unwise for the West to keep asking these questions. There are languages in Africa that are well recognized by the West. For example, the Swahili, the Zulu, the Yoruba, the Creole, you name them. Africa is not a dark continent. Africa is a continent of light. As this is another misconception made by the West about Africa. But it is clear that life started in Africa, and there is no doubt about it today that life started in Africa, because fossils and DNA have proven it clear that life started in Africa. And if there is no doubt that life started in Africa, there should be no doubt that language started in Africa. If there is no doubt that life started in Africa, there should be no doubt that writing started in Africa. And there is also should be no doubt that civilization started in Africa. So this is the Africa that we are calling dark continent. Africa is not a dark continent. Africa is a continent of light. Africa has so many world wonders. Did you know that mathematics started in Africa? Africa is believed to have one of the greatest world wonder, the Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. Africa has one of the oldest universities in the world. Africa has one of the oldest cities in the world, the city of Luxor in Upper Egypt. So these are all facts to prove that Africa is not a dark continent. Africa is a continent of light.